Welcome to the Camera Operator's Survival Training video. This is part one of multiple parts. Today I want to just talk briefly about the 30,000 foot view of what a camera is made up of. So let's start with the brains, where the head is. This thing is actually called the head, the camera head. This is where all the electronic is kept, where all the video processing is done. It's basically the main part of the camera. On the front end over here, you'll actually see the lens. We're currently using what's called a 42 by lens for this particular camera. The 42 by is basically a 42 power. So the higher the number, the more magnification you get. So if we had this camera and we were way close to the speaker, we're down front, then we'd use like a 21 by or a 22 by type camera. Further back you go, you might go to a 100 by camera. So the lenses do change, but in our situation here at Gateway, this camera doesn't move around, so we'll always keep this particular lens on there when we're shooting an event. On top here, you also have a viewfinder. This is your own personal monitor where you can see the image that you're capturing. You can see if it's in focus. You can see how it's framed. You can see the speed of your motion as you zoom in. At the top is also a tally light. Down here are also tally lights. When they're lit, your camera is being taken to program or somewhere to broadcast or iMag or whatever. There's some other controls on there which we won't go into now. We're going to have a video that shows you how to set this up. But there is brightness, contrast, and peaking. Just know that if you do adjust those, that it adjusts only your monitor and it will not affect the actual video that you're sending to the video room. As we come down, the camera head is mounted on a plate. This plate allows it to be securely attached so this doesn't fall over. We would never, if your camera is ever loose, you let us know immediately. This equipment is extremely expensive, and if it did fall off, it could be damaged, and we don't want that to happen. Somebody could be hurt as well. The plate then attaches to what we call the head. The head is a mechanism that allows you to pan and tilt. We use what's called a fluid head. There's locks on it, and again, we'll go into more detail on that. There's friction control, and so the head just basically allows you to have a really smooth motion. If you happen to ever work a camera that doesn't have the proper head, chances are the camera's going to be real shaky or jerky in the movement. If you get the proper head for the weight of the camera, then everything is a lot smoother. Off from that, oh, and also some cameras are actually attached from there going down to what's called a tripod. At our campus here, these are actually attached to a pole. But we could take these off, put them on a tripod, and move them around the room. We also have what's called handlebars, just like you'd have like on a bike. And the handlebars hold basically a bar that you can move the camera around, and it also holds some of the camera controls. If we look at this over here, on the left handlebar, of course you know from running camera, this is your focus control. It is all mechanical. There are some that are electronic. Ours are mechanical. There's a cable that goes up to the lens, and if you look at the lens, I don't know if we can push into that, but as I turn the knob here, you've probably noticed that the lens itself actually rotates. So that's what you're doing when you're focusing. If we didn't have the handlebar and we didn't have the control over here, you would actually have to reach up here and turn this thing manually yourself, like this, to actually focus, which would be really difficult to do. So to make it easier for you as a camera op, we put a control out here for you to be able to move. Now on the other side, we have a zoom control. Now the focus is mechanical. The zoom control on our cameras are electronic. So this has a wire that comes out of it, and as you adjust things like your zoom to zoom in or zoom out, or your speed or whatever, it will send a signal up here to this box mounted on the side of the lens. Well, this box contains electronics. It also contains a motor in there, a servo motor. I don't know if you can see it from there, but if I reach over here and change the zoom, you'll see that part of the lens turning. So as you're pushing and pulling, this motor in here is going clockwise or counterclockwise, and attached to a gear, it will move this portion of the lens to be able to move the glass inside the lens, which causes magnification, which causes you to be able to get different types of shots. Same thing with the iris in there, and we'll talk more about that, but that's also done electronically from back in the video room. One other thing that we do have on the camera that you should be aware of is you have a headset and you have a volume control right here. INCOM is your volume control for your headset. You can adjust that and make it where you can hear better. If you can't hear the director, turn it up. If the director's way too loud, turn them down a little bit. But you should always check that whenever you get on your camera. One other thing, we don't really talk much about the headset, but I wanted to let you know that these are adjustable. You may have already learned that. But notice this will slide up and down on that portion of the metal right there. So if you have a taller head, you would wear it here. If you had a shorter head, you would do it here. Technique that I use, I kind of pull them out and I put it on my head. So right now, if these are over my ears, I have a lot of space at the top. Then I reach up with my hands, my fingers, and I pull the headset down until it just comfortably touches the top of my head and keeps the earmuffs centered over my ears. Now, if I had to wear this thing for a couple hours during an event, it would be rather comfortable. If I make it too tight, it's going to pull down and squeeze down on my head and pull up on my ears. So always make sure you adjust this properly. The next thing you want to do is bring your boom mic down and then rotate it in where it's rather close to your mouth, so that should you need to talk to the director, the mic is right there. If you leave it up here, the director's not going to hear you. You're going to have to talk louder. You might disrupt people around. Again, at Gateway, normally we don't talk on comm back to the director during an event because we don't want to distract anybody. But if there's an emergency or whatever you need to, then you just press your push to talk button, which happens to be located right here. If you push that and you talk, you should hear yourself talking in your headset. So that is just a quick overview of your camera. Most of you are aware of all these things. Some of you, it's a refresher. You might even picked up something new you didn't know about the camera. So in some future videos that are be coming, we're going to be talking in more detail about each one of these. So thank you for all that you do and for serving and getting to use some of this awesome equipment, and you guys being so awesome working the awesome equipment. So thank you for what you do.